keystone species is a species that others in the ecosystem depend on. If one was removed, the ecosystem would change drastically. In the food web shown, the arrows represent the direction that energy is moving by being consumed and hunted by other predators. Notice that none of the arrows are pointing towards the plants at the base of the food web. This is because autotrophs do not consume other organisms, but instead they make their own food through photosynthesis. If the keystone species is the otter, then here's the likely outcome for the other organisms in the habitat if it was to be removed. Larger crabs, microscopic algae, and kelps would lose energy. Larger fishes, sessile invertebrates, sea stars, and sea urchins would all get more energy. A food web will show a habitat with a high biodiversity. Bio means life and diversity means differences. Biodiversity means a large group of different types of organisms. A food chain is much more simple and only involves a linear pathway of energy being transferred between just a few organisms in an ecosystem, but can be useful in seeing how limiting factors impacts a population size. A limiting factor is a species that limits growth or population and can be abiotic, non-living, like water, soil, and wind, or biotic, living like diseases, density of food, or competition. In this graph, we can see that from 1930 to 1950, 20-year span, the otter population declined. Energy pyramids show the energy gained or lost within the trophic levels in an ecosystem. At the bottom of the food chain are primary producers, also known as autotrophs, like plants, mosses, and algae. They receive their energy from the sun and turn light energy into food energy for consumers during photosynthesis. Sugar is the main energy substance made by plants that consumers can use for energy. The first consumers are called primary consumers and include all herbivores who eat vegetation. All consumers above the primary producers are called heterotrophs because they eat others. The 10% rule in ecology means that only 10% of the energy consumers digest is actually stored in their bodies. The other 90% of the energy is lost in the form of heat, metabolism, digestion,